Okay, hello everyone. All right, so this is the third video, and this is going to look at some resources that I provided and then go over the course readings. All right, because we live in a neoliberal society, meaning that, and but prior to the current administration, meant that um, certain public services have been cut in terms of like funding and all that. It's not something that just started with Trump. This has actually been going back to Ronald Reagan, right? And with his economic policies, because we're still sort of living under the things that he decided to do in terms of the economy back in the 80s when I was a kid, right? And one of the principles of neoliberalism is to cut back on the social safety net. And what's happened, and this is coming from a Durkheimian perspective, when the system is unbalanced or in a state of anomie, as Durkheim would say, social institutions have to sort of pick up the slack from where the primary institution that was responsible for the normal functioning of society through that institution begins to collapse or to disintegrate or to the point where it no longer serves its original function in society. Other institutions have to take that role. And this is one of those moments where the universities or just higher education, and in higher education, the way that I'm thinking of it right now to explain this is anything above city college or high school, going to junior college like College, El Cerritos or Southwest, or the one that the other junior college that I teach at, a College of the Canyons, are all now starting to provide services for their students where the government no longer provides those services like housing. Because I used to teach at LA City College a few years ago, and I remember talking to the chair and a couple of other professors there, explaining how LA City College was considering building dormitories for students because many students are experiencing housing insecurity or just blatant homelessness, while at the same time trying to complete their education for the hopes of a better future. So now the university has to provide some of those services for students, other rather than the government providing those services for their citizens, if that makes any sense. Okay. So I'm just going to go through this very quickly. So I've had students in the past mention to me, feel and mostly, well, male and female, but mostly female students mention that they're in a toxic relationship with their current partner, and that the partner is like very possessive or very demanding, what have you. It's like, I'm sure that you've had relationships before, and how they can go sideways sometimes. So I provided this information for students, right? Because students should feel safe on campus. Okay, so here you have information about the campus police. You can get escorts if you're on campus late in the evening. So you could do that. But then I also provided like off-campus information, like Sukasa. I believe this is in Long Beach, and they provide services for Long Beach residents that are experiencing domestic violence. But then I've also included like women's law information on restraining orders and other information, or the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence information. Right, so I put that information there, but then I've also included student groups like the Rose Black Resource Center for Black students, or I've also provided information for DACA or immigrant students. Like on campus, you have the Toro Dreamer Success Center, as well as the Immigration Justice Center, and this is very important to know and understand, considering the current administration and their policies in terms of ICE and Border Patrol, and picking up people off the streets of cities across the country, right? And I'm sure, you've either seen or participated in the myriad of protests and demonstrations that have been happening since the beginning of summer, the end of spring of this year, because of the ICE raids, right? Okay, and then I also included the Loyola Immigrant Justice Clinic, and which provide legal services for individuals and families, and I also included CHIRLA, which is the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. One of the other biggest issues that I've had students speak to me privately and confidentially, other than like domestic violence and immigration and homelessness, is food insecurity. Food prices are going up. A lot of food has not been collected or harvested because of immigration raids, and farmers are hard pressed to find enough people to pick the crops. So then we're going to be probably experience more food shortages, but then especially higher prices because of tariffs that the current administration has been implementing willy nilly in order to try to get concessions from certain countries around the world, right? So then what I did was I provided, Teddy's Pantry, Cal Fresh, and hot meal cards where you can get hot food. So the way that you're able to access this information, and also you can find this on the website on campus, or the campus website, is you're going to hold control, and then you're going to hit click, and then yeah, click, and then it'll take you to Teddy's Pantry, and it'll give you all the information about Teddy's Pantries, when they're open, where they're located, and what services and who is eligible to access Teddy's Pantry. But then you could also, sorry about that. I wanted Sorry about that. This one, Cal Fresh, you do the same thing. Just click on that, and it'll take you to their page, and it will also inform you about who's eligible, what they do, and how you apply. Right, and then the next one is the hot meal card. So then, if I understand this correctly, every student, registered student on campus, can get a hot meal card where they can get a hot meal from the commissary, and I think it's like $7, I believe, that to where you're able to get a hot meal, either like lunch or dinner, right? But again, and here they'll tell you if your eligibility and whatnot, right? Because you cannot do your work or try to be competitive if your stomach is grumbling and that you're starving, right? Because in the past, when students have shared with me confidentially that they haven't that they're food insecure, I've taken them to the commissary and bought them lunch or dinner, depending on the time of day that they speak with me, and what have you, right? But then what I've also and then I also included the address for the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, and this is the number, and this is when you could also go to pick up food, because I when I have the opportunity to, I also volunteer at a food pantry in the San Fernando Valley, where I help pass out food or direct traffic, to give back to the community, but then also to keep in contact with the community, and just help people in need, right? And then lastly, for just this, click on this, and this is going to show you other student organizations that you may find interesting, and this does help enrich your university experience by joining these clubs, right? All right, so like that's that for that. And then the next thing is that if you like to organize your life, I did provide this small table of what to expect about, like, when I could drop a student on September 5th, 2025, which is in next week, I believe. And if I see that there's certain students that haven't logged on to the class, I will send an email. As I mentioned, I will try and make a concerted effort to reach out to students that I see an issue about not logging in, or not submitting work on time, or in the work, yeah, that's necessary to be able to be graded, just to make sure that you're still going to be enrolled in the class, right? Because if not, and then if I don't hear from someone, if I do make that try to make that contact and I don't hear anything, I will drop the student. Right. So again, if there's an issue about logging on, or that you're having a life circumstance getting your way of your education, let me know. Okay. And then this is the last day that you could drop the class, and then these are the days that you're going to submit your final work. Okay. Now, so then this is the how I do the readings. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop it here because I don't want this video to be longer than like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm going to stop it and then go through the readings. Yeah, sorry about that.